Now you are much more comfortable navigating in the scene view and maneuvering through 3D space. The next critical skill to acquire in Unity is the ability to move and position objects within this 3D space. In this session, you will utilize the move and rotate tools to craft a mural of your own design using the colorful pieces of a classic Tangram puzzle. Coming into the scene, right now I will close this rings and I will come to the inspector and I will disable it. Now below the rings you have another grayed out game object called as Mural. Selecting this in the inspector, enable it and then just double click on it and you are going to come into the view to see it. Right click and just tilt up and press E to move up. So this is what the mural that you are seeing. Now to arrange this mural correctly, I have to see this from the top view. I will come into the gizmo, right click and choose top view. Now you are seeing this entire thing from the top view. Now if you open mural, you have puzzle pieces, and if you open this, you have various puzzle pieces available here. Whenever we are making use of this transformation tools, the first thing we have to know is about the axis. The axis means when you are moving, you can see in this gizmo, X is colored with red and this represents the movement from left to right, and Z is represented by blue and this represents front to back. And now if I right click and tilt up like this and press Q to come down, you can now see a green axis here, and this green axis represents bottom to top movement and we call this as the Y axis. And when we are moving this in the scene, you have an option here called as global. So if you click here, you have two options, global and local. Right now I have set its axis to global. I will right click on the gizmo and come into the top view and double click on puzzle pieces to zoom it in. Now whatever piece I am going to select, you can see the axis remains the same because we are in the global axis. Instead of global, if I change it to local, now you can see how the axis is going to change. If I select different objects will have different axes because the X, Y and Z axis are now relative to the actual object. Now to practice this transformation tools, if you come into this scene here, you have in the mural two pieces, puzzle pieces and Tangram reference. If I double click on Tangram reference, you can now see there are some 6 drawings that has been provided here, and I want you to create these shapes, arrange the given puzzle pieces in these different shapes. Now the very first shape I am going to show you is this turtle shape. So to create this turtle shape, I will middle mouse click and pan it a little and I will come into the puzzle pieces, and here I am going to select the puzzle pieces one by one. I will first select this red triangle, then you have the move tool, and selecting the move tool I am going to just drag it a little, and now I want to rotate it. So when I do the rotation, you have one option here called as snapping. So you can see here you have the snapping option, and to enable this snapping when you are working, the keyboard shortcut is Control. Now I want this to rotate. Either you can come and select the rotate tool here, or the keyboard shortcut is E. If I press E now, if I press Control and if I rotate this, see now I got this shape ready. Then for the other light orange color, I will select this light orange triangle, then again press W. I am going to move it here, then press E, press Control and rotate this, then again press W and move it and join it like this. Then for the next piece, I select this green parallelogram. I will pull it up like this, and even this I will press E, and I am pressing Ctrl. I am going to rotate it like this. Then again press W for the move tool and move this and adjust the position like this. Then for the other end, I select the blue triangle, press W and move it, then press E with Control pressed. I am going to rotate this and make this straight, then press W and move along the Z axis and move along the X axis. And if you want to move both these axes together, you are seeing one green plane here. If I click here, I can move both along X and Z axis. I will drag it and place it here. Now I will select this violet square, drag it and pull it here, then press E with Control pressed. I will rotate this by this angle, then press W and holding this green plane, I drag it and place it exactly at this point. Then I will select the next triangle here, and then I will again hold this yellow plane, drag it and keep it here. Only thing is the direction I have to change. I will press E with Control press, move it to left to rotate it clockwise. I will move it to an angle like this, then press W, move it and adjust the position like this. Then again I will select this yellow, and when I am doing this, you can see some overlappings appearing here. This is because we are in the perspective view. If I come here, right click and switch off the perspective, then aligning it will be very easy. So in this mode now, I will drag this and keep this here, press E, Control press and drag to left to rotate this. I will set an angle something like this, press W, drag it and place it correctly, and now we have our turtle ready. So I will just select. For multiple selection, you can hold shift and select multiple objects like this, and I will just pull it and place it precisely like this. So now we have our turtle ready. Now I will select the puzzle piece in the hierarchy and press F2, and I am going to rename this as turtle and press enter. Go to file and save this. Now as a challenge, let us try to assemble a more complex shape. I will come into this hierarchy, close the mural. I will leave this as it is. You have another game object here called as tube slide, and this also has been currently disabled. I will come here into the inspector and enable tube slide, and with tube slide selected, double click it, you zoom into this area, and if you open this, this consists of three pieces: tube side bottom, middle and top. If you just right click, turn around and see this, you can now see we have to assemble these three pieces and create this tube slide. So to start the assembly, first I am going to select the tube slide top. In Y, I will set its rotation to 0, and X, I will set its rotation to 0. And now if you move around, so since the rotation is now 0, it is standing straight, and to align it correctly, come into the gizmo, right click and choose front view, and these fences are actually blocking it. So I can come into this hierarchy. If you open environment, you have fences here. I will select this and temporarily disable this so that I can see this correctly. Now I will select back tube top, and I am going to zoom in, middle mouse click, and I am going to just drag it and place it exactly over the floor like this. So now if I right click and see this, now the first tube is placed correctly. Now the second part I am going to take is the tube side middle. I will set its x rotation to 0, y rotation to 0 and z rotation to 0 initially, and then I will press W, and with the move key on I am going to move it and adjust its position. I will come here in the gizmo, right click and come into the top view, and in the top view first I will hold this plane, drag it and place it correctly to a plane here like this, and I want this to rotate. So I will press E and I am going to rotate it to adjust the angle so that it moves in the correct angle like this, so that it is in the same angle. Then I will right click and come into the front view, and in the front view I will press W and move it down so that it is touching the floor here, and then I will just right click and move about here, and I have to actually rotate this. Press E and rotate it along the x axis like this. If required, come to the top view. Now align this rotation correctly, then press W and move this and attach it correctly to this piece like this. I will right click, turn around and just see that this is correctly aligned. Okay, so if required I will zoom it, slightly move it up like this and slightly move it to the right like this, and just adjust this correctly. So I will move it along the x axis, and also I will move it along the y axis, so that this is precisely aligned. See, now you can see it is precisely aligned. I will press E and slightly rotate it so that it fits correctly. Press W, drag it and put it inside here like this. Again press E, slightly rotate it like this. Press W and move it. So now I have attached the first piece correctly. Right click and just see this. So now the first piece is fine. Slightly move it to the top. Okay, this is fine. Now I will select the third piece, and even in the third piece I will set all these rotations first to 0, and then I will just drag this to the right, and this should get attached to this point here. Right click on the gizmo, come into the top view, and I can just place it here, or I can just come into the front view here, and in the front view slightly let us move this and adjust the position. So I will right click, rotate around to see this position. So I will slightly move this so that it is just touching the floor like this. I will move it along the x axis, and I will just move a little along the y axis, and I will catch this yellow plane and move it up like this. Okay, so now we have precisely placed this tube shield bottom correctly. Now to set the position of all the three together, I will select tube slide, and I am going to move it and place it exactly where I want this to be placed, and I will come into the gizmo top view, and if required I will press E and slightly rotate it like this and place it at an angle. Press W and place it correctly, and now if you turn and see, we have precisely aligned and placed our tube slide correctly. Now once this is precisely placed, I will come into the hierarchy, open environment, select fences and enable fences so that the fences are now visible. So now we have our playground ready. Now finally come into file and save this. So with this we have concluded our most basic Unity essentials, and from the next session we are going to discuss about the 3D Unity essentials.